Hello and welcome to the Rib of Man podcast, a platform dedicated to impact men through the empowerment of women. My sole mission of this whole platform is to restore honor and respect back to the men in your life and of this world. And so I am grateful that you are taking time out of your day to listen to this podcast. I don't know how you came across it, but I am grateful that you are here. And my only hope and prayer for you is that God shifts something in your heart for the greater. So let's dive in. All right. Hi guys. Welcome to the official video episode of Rib of Man. And as usual, I have my lovely cousin here as the first official guest, and there is a reason behind that, but surprise! And what, it's like one day before my birthday, and then 3 days before hers.
Right. April 3rd, April 5th.
Whoop whoop. Shout out to all the April birthdays out there.
Yeah.
We the best. That's all I gotta say. Alright, so I don't know if any of you guys have tuned into the last video, well not a video, the last episode of Rib of Man where I shared my testimony of how I've been learn how to respect men. Well, to tack on to that, she is the reason why I learned, and the story behind that is one day I was working at my job and the Lord was just like, you need to quit your job and go help your cousin. And I said, well, okay, and I waited. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did.
No, I just knew you moved in with me. I was like,
No,
I need that help.
yeah.
Come on.
Well, that was the story, and I was like, oh dear God, there's more things that happened like with our family, but in that time I didn't know her and Pastor Mike were praying for someone to take care of Bella because you guys were in the process of...
Yeah, we just needed help. I think the internship was going on.
Yeah.
Mike took over more roles of pastoring, and yeah, I just needed a little extra help here and there.
It was a lot.
Mm.
And they were like, they needed it within budget, with no budget. And so the Lord taxed me on in. So the beautiful thing about that, with living there, I got to just spend time with them. And I mean, the best way to learn is to be hands in and help. And so through them navigating, being part of the internship, we're leading our internship there. And then also in that time, Pastor Mike, you guys were being groomed to be the pastors of the church. So it was a lot of behind the scenes things that I saw her navigate through with grace. I think one thing, it may seem very little, but it was funny, but it meant a lot. I don't know what we were talking about. We were just probably in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. A lot of conversations happened in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And Pastor Mike was laughing about one date night you guys had, and he noticed that he was trying to open the door for you, and he realized that she was speeding up, and it came to like a little race to the door. She's like, let me just open the door for you. But it was a serious thing because she was talking about, like how she had to learn, like, oh wait, like these are things that I actually do, and so.
Mm-hmm. I was just trying to get to the door. It was cold. I was trying to hurry to get in, and he was trying to hurry and open the door for me. I was just like, let me open the door. I'm trying to get in. What are you doing? He was trying to be nice. I was like,
oh gosh. And we laughed, and I thought about it. I said, we both grew up with the father, our fathers not being in the home, so mom was mom and dad.
That's right.
And so as I was listening to that, I was like, that's so funny, but it's the truth. Like, our brains are wired right, just to do what we do. And so, what would you like to share how you came to learn, like, those moments where the Holy Spirit was just like, okay, like, you need to step back in this area so Pastor Mike could lead in the capacity that he needs to. Like, what did that look like in y'all's, even in dating? It could be for anybody.
Yes.
The single woman, the married woman.
I'm trying to think. My personal experience, I don't think I was as conscious of it until I got married. Dating, probably not in. We've been together since we were 14, so I really wasn't thinking about it from that aspect. 14, 15, 16, 17, being a teenager. But as an adult, if I were dating, I probably would have. But so my experience more with realizing like, okay, you're just a little bit too much of a strong, independent woman. Like you're kind of going over the top. And I did. I grew up in a single parent home. My mom, she's bomb. She was mom and dad. Like, and some stuff, even with saying that mom being mom and dad, I feel two different ways about this. Like sometimes my mom growing up, I got her Mother's Day cards and Father's Day cards. It's just, I know it sounds so backwards, but at the end of the day, it was like, hey, you need to be celebrated for both of what you're doing. Because honestly, like you were out here providing, you're out here protecting, you're also trying to nurture, but you're also trying to help me be secure, like at the same time. So I'm like trying to honor you in both ways. But at the same time, realizing when my husband, came to be my husband, realizing like, oh, those roles are actually like innately not separated. Naturally, the husband does more of the providing, the safety, security, not just with protection, but also with like, especially if they follow the Lord, safety and security with like your emotions, with like your spirituality, your walk with the Lord. Like they're there to help kind of guide and lead in that area. At least they should be anyway. And then my mom, and then wives can do that too or whatever, but just innately men want to fix, they want to provide for, they want to, and women do that too, but usually it's just a little, we're keen to lean a little more into nurturing and how somebody feels and want to know and want to like empathize and want to validate and stuff like that, where men kind of aren't wired to go there first. They're a little more like straightforward. And so like one thing I even noticed with Mike is he lets my kids try just anything. I mean, it's like walking, we're in our summer right now, walking the ledge of the windowsill. He'll let MJ do that. I'm like, get down, that's not safe. He's like, no, let him do it. Like, he's, if he falls, he falls. We'll move from there. But I'm like, but he could fall. Like, so don't do that. But what I'm realizing is that's allowing our children to, like, from a young age, to realize that they have stability in their father and their parents, with us deciding, with me coming alongside my husband and agreeing and not be like, no, get down because I said so. Me kind of not falling back, but realizing like, I'm going to give you the space to apply your perspective. I may not agree with it, but I'm going to give you the space to step back and come alongside your perspective and realize there is something that you're doing with allowing him to walk the windowsill that maybe I don't get, that is actually providing in the long term something positive for our kids. It's like you're teaching him that walk the windowsill. Yeah, it's dangerous. Yeah, it's kind of risky, but like there could be fun in it. There could be, and at the end of the day, like I'm here. So if you fall, we'll move from there. We'll move from that point. We'll, bandage you up. Maybe you'll learn not to do it that way again. Maybe you'll never do it again. But either way, I'm here. So that stability of like a father, and then the wife coming along the side and realizing like, okay, me saying don't do it at all may not necessarily be the right thing, because what if one day my son wakes up and he wants to start his own business, and I've instilled fear the whole life, being like, don't walk, don't do that, don't do that. What if that happens? What if this happens? And this is really taking it down the road with the example of the windowsill. But my husband saying, go for it, that gives him some of the stability and the courage and the security. Yeah, and trust to be like, what, if I do this, it's okay. Like, my parents got my back, and realizing that, and taking that step further, realizing that God's got my back. Mm-hmm. And so I would say from a woman's perspective, I started to realize that allowing my husband, allowing Michael to try things and not bash him over the head if it doesn't work out. Like, I told you so. I told you shouldn't have done that, or like, well, okay, you do it, but I'm not going to show any support over it at all. Like, if you're going to do it, you go do it all on your own. I'm not backing you in any kind of way. And then if it fails, I won't say it didn't fail, but I'm going to be like,
I told you so.
Told you so, all in my head. So there's the verbal I told you so, and making sure you know that I know you shouldn't have done that, or the passive aggressive, like I just kind of shut down and you're on your own kind of thing. So, but realizing him needing the space to try to fail forward, not making it seem like if I fail that's a step backwards or you did something wrong or that it's negative, but that like you can try something, and if it doesn't work out, then we just learn not how to do it that way, and like support him and to try again, because in the day you don't want a man to be leading your home or to be a partner with you in life that is passive. And a lot of times a lot of men can become passive and scared and feel fearful to try things, because what if it doesn't happen, and they don't want the scrutiny or the judgment of the woman that I did it wrong. Like I'm the man supposed to be looked at as the protector, provider, have all the answers and stuff. But at the end of the day, they're human, just like us. Like there's some things we may do that we do good and we thought was going to be great, and it was horrible. It was the worst decision we've ever made, or wrong perspective that we had, or something like that. And men can do that too. But there is a lot of pressure to, I think, because men have a bad, especially black men, have a bad rep, you know, as far as being absent fathers, fatherless fathers, and all that stuff, which is, that is very true and real. But at the end of the day, that's not the truth, especially if you haven't, you find a man or dating a man or that knows God. That's why it's just so important, because at the end of the day, they're trying to live up to a standard that is biblical, that's of the Lord. They're not trying to live up to man's standards. So that way, like, I know that I can pray to God about my husband, and he can tweak anything that I need to be tweaked in Michael without me having to do anything, like, because I know Michael listens to God. And so I started learning these things as I saw them, and it was a learn as you go, because like I said, I didn't grow up with my dad in my home. So I had to kind of watch and see kind of what happened. Now my mom, she did get remarried when I was a teenager, and so I saw the dynamic between my mom and my stepdad, and I did see, it was a little rough for my mom as well. Like, so there was some dynamics that my mom was that INDP, all them letters. I can't spell independent. I really learned. I really tried to learn to spell independent from that song. But yeah, she struggled a little bit. I saw here and there growing up with trying to take that step back from like raising children, like her whole life, essentially like being, she grew up in a single parent home majority of her life as well with my grandma, and so there's like generations of that, growing up that she was having to fight. And so I saw the good and the bad, and so like Ryan was saying, when she saw with me and Mike, she saw some good and some bad. You take some, you take the meat and you spit out the bones, and so a lot of not just
she thinks they're crazy. I said, no, I'm like, where you live? Where you live?
Yes. So growing up, I took the meat and I spit out the bones. And then I realized, like, oh, this is real when I got married. And so there's some stuff I kind of learned on the fly, learned on the go, reading certain books, surrounding myself with other marriages that I saw that had worked, that had been together for years, and realizing, like, oh, submission and support of your husband is not necessarily a devaluing or a weak thing. You're not less than. It's like, it's support. We're both human beings. Like, and you need support to know that, like, I need support to know that I can be a good mom. Mike allows me to step into that role as mom and wife fully 100% and supports me in what I do. Does he not have an opinion? Of course he has an opinion. And not everything I do goes, and not everything that he does go. But there is this thing of like, no, I know, you don't know, and okay, you want to do it that way? Well, let's see if that works. And if it don't, I told you so. That's kind of the standpoint you could get, especially when you grew up in a home where you only had the mom, in the house. So I don't know if that answered your question. I kind of
it did. No, that was perfect. I was just like, oh yeah. I mean, it just like two things that stuck out was like with the ledge that and you saying, you know, even though you're talking about trusting Mike, but you're also instilling trust in MJ and him knowing that my mom trusts me to do things. And so as he gets older,
Exactly.
so that's beautiful. That's very beautiful. And even
because you have to do that when they're kids.
Ooh,
At the same time, like
them.
a man having to respect your husband or whoever you're dating or whatever seriously, not messing around, but seriously, actively pursuing a relationship to go to marriage, or you're married. That respect and that space you give and the support for them to just try, and that respect as a man is the same for a little man, meaning like boys. Like what a man needs is still what my son needs, or young men need, teenagers, they all need the same thing.
And therapists always say, like, men look for women who are like their mothers. And so, however their mother showed respect to them, they're going to choose a woman that shows respect in that same capacity. And of course, I hope, you know, go from glory to glory, build it for the greater. Like, just seeing that dynamic, because you will let him know, like, hey, like, I wasn't okay with that, you know. I've seen those conversations. But also, mama will do the same thing. Like, hey, like,
but you just gotta do it respectfully. You know, like, let's. I'm not gonna put you out here in front of everybody or whatever, but let's
talk how I felt when this happened.
And then that's what's important, that you're not giving respect to a man in that type of capacity is a lot of trust that you're giving. That's why you don't. So I say, like, respect with men and women not really knowing, or what's my perspective on it. Not all men deserve this, of what I'm talking about. Like, this is only for a certain type of person or man that is living this lifestyle for God. Because then, like I said, they have a standard that they're measuring themselves up against, and not my own opinion. And like, they've got their own standard that they're trying to listen to. So that's why if me and Mike do have a disagreement, his ear is to listen to me and to reflect on what I'm saying, take it to God, and then come back. Maybe we can't figure it out right then, but then we'll circle back around and agree when we want to talk about it again, and we'll come back around and we'll find a middle ground. Usually God gets to both of us by then, and we're both apologizing. So that's usually how it works. But that depends on the type of person that you're dating, or that you married. Now, if you married, you got to work it out. Like, you just do it. I mean, go get a counselor, get a therapist, or whatever. You can't just leave or whatever. Try. You have to try first. Like, so get into. I am a big supporter of therapy and counseling, and so, because the communication skills, a lot goes into how you were raised too. How you saw communication happen between a man and a woman. It plays a big role on how you will communicate to, or how you perceive you're being communicated to. Like, a lot of times, Michael's not even meaning it how I thought he said it, but in my head, it translated into something completely else. And he's like, whoa, I didn't even say that. And I'm like, really? Oh, I saw it. Dang, I thought you did. And so,
Now, this is a bonus question that just came to mind. So with
my baby,
G,
real life.
As you were like growing to trust and respect Pastor Mike, which trust is a huge thing, and I asked the question on River Man, the platform, and a lot of guys that responded was their big thing of showing respect was actually trust. So that's like the gateway to respect. With that, how did that grow your relationship with the Lord? Because I've used that in the past as a direct line of, I mean, I know you shouldn't compare God to man, but when your father's not there, or even major father figures in your life, because I even shared a little bit, but I didn't go into detail about Papa, like just all the stuff that we found out. And I was like, he was not the person that we thought, and that it kind of took me, like, I was just like, wow, like, so that was a lie, and so it really makes you question God, because he's supposed to be your father. And so how did that heal or even build intimacy, like, with God?
I would say that to be hot, humble, open, and transparent, that is currently something that I'm diving into. I think I just, from my childhood and how I grew up, I think I learned how to disassociate very easily. So, you know, that feeling where like you're going through something but it doesn't feel like you really, like it really happened, or your response to an event, or to say big T trauma, little T trauma. It doesn't mean, you know, you gotta, you grew up with drive-bys happening at your house all the time, getting shot up. Like big T trauma. There's little T trauma, you know, like promiscuous, women out here messing with a whole bunch of guys, you know, like I don't got a bunch of kids, you know, with a bunch of baby daddies, you know. I used to think, you know, being all judgmental and extra spiritual, thinking that I was like a step ahead or whatever than the average girl that didn't grow up with a father. And I was like, I didn't have these deep wounds, like, oh, I wish my dad was there, dude. And I was like, I didn't really grow up like that. I was like, I don't really feel that kind of way. I was like, I understand, like, his dad was probably like this, and so that's how kind of he thought. He's got his own issues he needs to work through that he hasn't yet, and so it makes sense as why he's not here. I would rationalize it out. And so it didn't really correlate to me that my relationship with God was, that there was a direct line with how I viewed God as Father, viewed God as with trust, viewed God as with like, not respect me, well, you know, like respecting God, trusting his word, trusting what he, you know, his perspective or his way. And so I didn't see that correlation. I'm starting to now, because being in therapy and stuff, realizing that I disassociated, realizing that I didn't allow myself to feel the lows in life. And because I didn't feel the lows, I couldn't really feel the highs all the way. So a lot of times I stayed in a gray kind of space. So currently right now, especially with the diagnosis of my son having autism and being in therapy, I'm realizing I need to find those lows so that I can really start to feel the highs. All this say, circling that back around with my perspective with God. And I am learning right now that what my real emotion and how my dad not being there truly affected me, and how it actually impacted my life, and how that played out all the way up to this day, and how I view my perspective, how I see things, how I don't let certain things penetrate my heart, how I can be, my attachment style is more avoidant. Like, I'd rather just, then you hurt me, I'll just take 2 steps back and I will check out on you and you do you, kind of thing. I realized that was a protective mechanism that served me for years, childhood, teenage adulthood, all the way up to, you know, now. But I realized it served me, but it also didn't serve me in a lot of ways. And so now I'm realizing that, yes, that served you, but it doesn't work anymore. When the diagnosis of MJ with my son, I realized that type of way of dealing with pain and uncomfortability and trust issues didn't work for this issue in my life with my son having autism. It just didn't. My coping mechanisms didn't work. And so I really challenged my view with God of like, how do I deal with this? Because the issue is really highlighting something that's not working how I normally dealt with it. And so my view, it's starting to make me MJ started to make me dive into issues of my life, my early childhood, which a lot of our issues in adulthood really come from our childhood. You'll find that out in therapy. So I'm realizing that my view of my father and how I dealt with that all of my life does directly correlate with how I view God. And honestly, I'm in the middle of trying to figure that out.
Great, that's okay.
And so I'm just like, wow, I'm Lord, like, I did not know that is how I was really dealing with that. Like, wow, like I didn't allow myself to fully engage, I guess, with God 100%, like hands free, or I thought I did, but I didn't realize that it wasn't like I wasn't fully putting my weight all on the chair. Like I was kind of like, you know, like just in case, you know, got my 1 foot on the floor just in case this breaks, kind of thing. And so, so I'm realizing now I'm in the process of learning how to fully relax in the chair and like, you know, and feeling safe and secure and realizing having that stability with my relationship with God. And so honestly, I am walking in the middle of that right now. So it was to a degree, which I thought was fine my whole life, but I'm realizing, oh, there's a deeper level that I need to go to that I didn't even realize was there. And so, yeah, it plays a huge connection between your relationship with your natural father and your view and your perspective of God being your heavenly father or whatever. That even that terminology growing up was always weird to me. I was like, And that was probably because
attitude, heavenly father.
Right, yes. And so even that attitude is kind of like, it didn't even make sense to me, especially when people be like, Daddy God.
Oh,
I'm like, Daddy God.
Daddy God.
Like, and so that's probably because I didn't grow up with the father of my house. Like, that did not seem endearing to me.
Yeah, I was going to say that the formality, like, God was God.
Yeah, God
is. Kept him that. Not father, not daddy.
God is God. Like, there's your mother and then you have your father. But God is God. Like, why would I put a daddy God on that? That doesn't even make sense. And so, honestly, that's something I'm still, peeling the layers off
of. Hey, there may be someone, a woman out there that's going through the same
got to be. I know I ain't the only one. Y'all lying.
But that's beautiful. But are y'all lying?
It's authentic. That's where I'm at. But yeah,
that's all this is about.
Yeah,
that's all.
That's awesome. That's great.
Oh yeah, my heart, like, literally, I guess for me, like, even growing up, because I've always looked up to her a whole lot. And so just even her, like, seeing her walk through the things that she has, and even just being vulnerable right now without distractions, without, like, it's just y'all and Pastor Nat, y'all and my cousin. This is family. Mm-hmm. And it's really cool, like, to see how God has been faithful with the healing and dealings of your heart. Mm-hmm. In the last episode I shared, Tony, Tristy's Tony, he took me on a father-daughter date, and I boo-hoo cried for like the days leading up to that, because I was just like, I'd see, Mike and the girls like go on father-daughter dates, and I was like, I wish that for my spouse to do that for our kids, but I never applied it to me, and didn't know of something that I needed, like, to be healed. And so how God used that in the Holy Spirit just dealing with my heart, he was just like, I'm changing the narrative of every major father figure that hasn't lived up to what I needed them to be for you. And that just tore me to shreds. I was like, on the toilet, in the shower. I was like, Lord, like, he's so, like, he cares about the details of how to heal us. And so to see him, like, even though you're like, I wish, like, like, I didn't put all my weight on it in the beginning. I thought I did, but God still used this whole walk, like, and even helping women who are first ladies, because there's a lot of first ladies that have big T's and big T's that they need to heal from, that may have not come forth to share their hurts and pains, but you're coming in and sharing your story, and also sharing the truth of, like, no, like, God wanted this, even though you experienced this, but you are going to still be able to have this because this is what he's walking you through. And you're helping other women, like first ladies, not be first ladies, because all the pressure that comes with that. Like, it's a lot. And I commend you for that. Like, I know it hasn't been easy. Like, I know it hasn't. But you handle it so gracefully, being a mama and being a wife and being a sister and being you're a godmama, right? Not yet?
Yeah.
Wait, to who?
Yeah, I know. We'll talk about that. Yeah.
Okay, anyway, yeah.
We actually got a lot of God kids that just kind of happen
because
of who we are. Like, you're the God. I'm like, I am. Wow. I didn't know. You're like, yeah, you are. I'm like, okay. Wish I would have known. Yeah, I think this is so bad, so racist. I think you're a better godparent when you don't have 50 million kids of your own. I'm so sorry. If I am your godmom, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Forgive me, Dad.
I love you.
But no, really, like,
that's weird.
Oh no. So like, ooh. So that I was just trying to hold back tears. I was like, oh, like it's just really beautiful. Like just to, like God cares. God cares about the details of our healings, but we gotta be willing to go through it and go along. And it's okay. Like I'm an Enneagram 2 wing 1, and you know I want to connect, but at the same time it's hard because, like she said, like someone does you wrong or hurts you. Like the attachment style is avoidant too. Like I do, yeah. I just get real distant and real quiet, and that's not okay. And I just like, Lord, I don't know what to do, and so it's really beautiful to see like you share your story of like how important it is to process, to communicate, and still show up. She still had to show up every day for her husband, for her kids.
It's true.
For the church. For the church.
Gotta show up.
She gotta show up. And so if she could do it
first.
Yeah, that too. Well, yeah, sorry.
That's what I'm learning.
That's important to show up for yourself.
Yeah.
But you can do it. You can still show up. And you go back and listen to this as many times as you need to. And my only takeaway is that you see the importance of healing, like taking the moment and really addressing where you're at. Like I think that's very important, and allowing the Lord to move you from there. And I don't know do you have any resources that you used, or even just think practical and spiritual resources that are like, hey, this.
Practical is therapy. If you don't have the money for it, if you're not quite there are making it a priority. Really, everyone should probably. You think you don't have? I didn't think I really had issues, honestly, until I started getting therapy. I'm like, oh wow, like I'm kind of jacked up. We all are jacked up, but I'm really jacked up. So therapy. One, out of going to therapy, and I did not want to talk to anyone. Like there's this big stereotype, especially I think in my minority communities, therapy is just kind of taboo. So me being half Indian, half black, it was like, you don't go tell some random person all your business. Like you don't do that. That's
our family.
Yeah, like therapy. Are you crazy? Like only crazy people go to that therapist. Like
that's very true.
Anyway, so therapy one. When I was in therapy, I was supposed to read. I say supposed to because I'm still reading the book. It's taken over a year. It's called Try Softer. In this book, one big takeaway that I got is it talks a lot about your attachment styles. It talks a lot about your childhood and connecting that through the issues you have now. But one of the big assignments, and it gives a little assignments in the book too, but one of the assignments that like really kind of shattered everything for me in a way, or brought perspective, we'll say that, was and this is an assignment that you can do, is for me to make a timeline of my life and highlight or put on the timeline big major events in my life that I feel like were good or bad. It didn't matter. So anything major that happened to me. And when I did that, it was crazy how I saw that there was a certain time in my life, it was like back to back, boom, 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 boom. And then other things that happened. And then I realized that, like looking at my timeline, I realized like, oh, you need to be in counseling. Like if this was somebody else's thing, I would have been like, yeah, you need to maybe talk to somebody about some of these things or whatever. And so I would say maybe making a timeline of your life and start to look at those things and get into counseling. Maybe try reading this book called Try Softer, and that whole book is about it's by Andi somebody, don't know her last name. Really good book. Okay, yeah, no one knows one.
That's cool. I was about to say that.
Drop the link. So official. Anyway, the book, Try Softer, it is really about trying not to white knuckle your way through life, is what she puts kind of like the big tagline is. And that's basically like not really allowing yourself to fall apart, to go down deep in the things that suck, that hurt, that we rather not focus on, and we just want to push through, essentially. Like even not being kind to yourself. Like sometimes I don't eat. I don't eat until like 3. It's like, dang, I haven't eaten all day. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'll just be all right till I get to, that. And that's a small thing or whatever, like just not taking care of yourself. whether that's physically, emotionally, spiritually, all the leaves or whatever. And so anyway, this is talking about trying softer with yourself and realizing and finding the strength in that and how it actually helps you to take care of yourself and put yourself first. So that's a great book. The timeline thing and therapy. I would say those three, and the Lord. Those four things, and the Lord is number one.
The Lord? That last showed me first.
So those four things, I would say starting there is definitely going to get you on the track for just putting yourself first. And it's really going to help you see that perspective of what Ryan's talking about with the respect and how your views of respect with men in your life. Be that a little boy, your son, to your father, to your husband, boyfriend, or whatever, you'll begin to see like where you learned how to respond the way you do towards men, where that came from, and the whys. And you'll get a healthy perspective if you're in therapy and you're reading different books. You'll get have a relationship with God, reading the Bible, getting a good church. You start to see the healthy perspective you should have. And getting in therapy will help you get there because you're not going to be able to figure it out on your own. Yeah. And like the Holy Spirit will help you, but you also need practical steps and someone to bounce your thoughts off of. And with this topic that you're bringing up with men, this will also help to funnel out all the stupid relationships that you shouldn't have. So all the dumb relationships that are like, yeah, they're not even worth my trust. This person doesn't even deserve the trust or respect that I can give as a human, yes, but like not give you my trust, my respect in an intimate, relational kind of way. Certain people live up to that standard, and you should have, that should be certain people that you allow in that space.
That might have to be a part two, levels of trust.
Levels of trust, levels of respect.
Ooh, for the relationships, because that's it's a different type of.
Kind
of how you have your inner friends and the rest of everyone else. That's where your trust layers. Well, I appreciate you being my first guest. I love you too.
You're doing so great. This is awesome.
It's gonna be fun, guys. We're here sweating.
Yes.
Okay.
It's warm in here.
It's all right. Lots of love though. Well, thank you for tuning in, and I cannot wait for the response to this video. And if you have any questions, I will shoot them to her and she'll respond the best she can. And I can't wait for the next episode or even a part 2, because I mean there's always more.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it'll be a cooler day, and we'll probably more comfy, who knows. But I love you guys, and thank you just for supporting Rib of Man. Tag and share, comment, whatever you do. This is all new to me. So here we are. All right. Bye.